Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and we are going to talk a lot about Xbox Game Pass in today's video because there's a lot of news circulating around Xbox's most popular service. A potential price hike. It's been expected. It looks like Xbox has committed to that very idea. But when? We'll talk about it. Of course, on the other side of things, if they're going to ask us to pay more, give us more value, right? It's not enough. Well, it looks like they have a new type of plan in development that they're also moving forward with that we can expect sometime relatively soon. Last but not least, while it may not seem directly connected to Xbox, Crystal Dynamics made a brand new announcement that does speak a bit to where they're at as a studio. And this is the team that's supporting Perfect Dark, which they also just took on more responsibility with that. So it's very interesting to see where that company's heading. We'll talk about that in today's video. With that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, you're into Xbox news and information, consider subscribing. Certainly, we talk about it a lot, especially when they're releasing video games. That's always really nice. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it with our first story. A bit of a rumor. The rumor mill is churning. And now we've got the scoop here. So this comes from Pure Xbox, where it's titled, Microsoft might permanently combine Xbox Live Gold with Game Pass. That's a really creative way of saying the price is about to go up. I'm surprised they didn't put that in their title, you know, search ranks and all that stuff, but hey, whatever. Anyway, the article says, journalist Brad Sams, which you can, by the way, take this to the bank considering that he's the one who leaked the Series S, has advised he's heard Microsoft is trying to find ways to contemplate combining Xbox Live Gold with Game Pass. And it sounds like the idea has made it to the baseline offer at $15 per month. Quote, I've heard that Microsoft is contemplating figuring out how to raise the price of these services to include Gold so that $15 per month is the new baseline, meaning you get Game Pass and you also get Xbox Live Gold, and that's the only tier. It would not surprise me if when Microsoft closes the acquisition of Activision, they actually raise that base floor price up of how much it's going to cost to get into their service. So instead of taking a page out of the PlayStation Plus handbook, which is splitting all these services up into multiple tiers, Xbox wants to sort of consolidate things. I know a lot of people have been calling for getting rid of Xbox Live Gold, so I'll be interested to see how you all react to this, because for me personally, I find it interesting that we saw Xbox last year, beginning of last year, try to shoot up the price of Xbox Live Gold. People were like, what? Why not shoot up the price of the service that people are actually interested in right now, which is Game Pass? And you could see people are ready and almost strangely willing to pay more for Game Pass. And I understand, right? Because we've all been expecting it with how much day-and-date games they're pouring into there, how many games in general they pour into there. And you're like, certainly this has to go up eventually. And again, to the point where I've seen people like, come on, just give us a couple more bucks because you can give us some more tiers, right? I do think it's a bit of a slippery slope at a certain point in time where Xbox goes, okay, we're not just going a couple of bucks like I think some were expecting. They're going from 10 to 15. It's a $5 leap. And when you look at a $5 leap across millions of subscribers, that's a lot of extra revenue for Microsoft. Of course, good to see for the service we want to support. But at the same time, we need to make sure Xbox keeps that same energy when they move that price up. And I do think this is more of a wait and see thing. There's a lot that can happen between now and potentially June 2023 when the Activision acquisition is finalized. For all we know, another acquisition could happen in the middle of this that can guarantee more day-and-date games from Xbox first-party studios. For all we know, at the summer showcases, they may announce a ton of day-and-date games across the second half of the year, much like they did last year. That's always an actual possibility. There are many avenues that Xbox can go that can justify the price hike, on top of one thing we're going to talk about next. But this is something people have been waiting for a while. It's something you should start to mentally prepare yourself for. But also, a lot of people were really smart and bought Xbox Live Gold for a couple of years and then did the opt-in service for Game Pass that would allow people to get years worth of it for a very, very cheap price. So you'll be covered for some time if you took advantage of that. I did not. So I will be paying more, most likely, whenever this happens. But it still seems like it's somewhat of a ways out, but they're looking into it. So just keep this in mind with future updates for Game Pass, because I know certainly I will be considering it when I see things like what's the energy moving into. Now we know internally they're like, we're going to move this price up. It's like, okay, what kind of energy are you going to give us as consumers to justify that? I think in a lot of ways it's already justifiable, but $5, that's a pretty significant hike in the service area of things. So we'll see in due time. Of course, we want to judge it when it's here, and Game Pass has earned my trust personally, so I'm not going to react too harshly to this one. With that, let's move into our next story, because I think it's important when considering what we just talked about, which is Xbox Game Pass, and now they're looking into a family plan. So this is an exclusive write-up that comes from Windows Central Gaming by Dad of Xbox, Jez Corden. The article is titled, Microsoft is moving ahead with Xbox Game Pass family plan. I heard about Microsoft's desire to create a family plan quite a while ago at this point, although there were details to work out about how royalties might be distributed and how licenses from third-party publishers would be compensated for users who weren't attached to the main plan. According to trusted sources familiar with Microsoft's efforts, we can now confirm that Xbox is moving ahead with an Xbox Game Pass family plan, which could be set to launch sometime this year. From our information, paying on a higher tier for an Xbox Game Pass family plan will net access for 5 players 4 games across the entire library, and will be far cheaper than paying for 5 separate Xbox Game Pass accounts as is necessary today. Utilizing Microsoft's family account system already in use for Office 365, players within the same country will be able to play together using a single Xbox Game Pass subscription managed by a central account holder in much the same way as similar services. Some details remain unclear for now, though. For example, will there be separate family plans for PC Game Pass and Xbox Game Pass console, or will it all be exclusive to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate? And the exact pricing is also unknown as of writing, besides that it will be reportedly far cheaper than having to pay for several separate accounts as required today. We're not exactly sure when all of this will be announced, but it does seem as though Microsoft is ready to make this public in the relatively near future. This is something that a ton of people have been asking for, and all I'm saying is a lot of friends are about to become family with this program because of the money that you can save. It's like, yo, bro, I'll cover this month, you cover next month, and everybody's winning, and everyone's in on this service. Just like with Disney Plus, where you can see a set of icons for each user, and you can log in through there. This makes sense for a service that's supposed to be on smart TVs, where you could just hook up your controller and play through Xbox Game Pass cloud streaming through there. I imagine that is the future game plan to get more and more people to buy in with the idea of what has driven Game Pass to this point. Lots of value. Right now, much like the article stated, everyone needs to have an account. So if you're in the same household and Jimmy and John both want to have Game Pass, you're paying for 2 subscription fees rather than a combined 1 subscription fee for both of them. And honestly, I'm happy to see Xbox take this in this route. It's been long overdue. I'm surprised they don't already have it in play, but I could see this being an E3 timing thing, right? Where they really want to be big and loud and make a lot of announcements at once. I could see this being something that they push for, or maybe ahead of E3 timing. I keep calling it E3 even though it's canceled, but you all know what I mean. That's a staple for the summer showcase moments, right? But when you're in that summer showcase moments, those types of announcements can get smothered. So maybe they do it in May ahead of everything so people know going into June with all of those announcements that happen that it is a part of the family plan. It could go some way like that. But nonetheless, long overdue, definitely exciting to see, so I can't wait to learn more about the Xbox Game Pass family plan. Now, we have an interesting turn of events here for Crystal Dynamics. So this is the developer of Tomb Raider, this is also the developer of Avengers, and they have also teamed up with the initiative to work on Perfect Dark. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we sat down on the channel to talk about some bad news revolving around the initiative, where about half of their studio had pieced out, the original staff. A lot of new faces are trying to come in, but right now it's only been 12 in the last year, which is not great at all. And so a lot of the weight has been placed onto Crystal Dynamics. The reason this is surprising is because then you look at what happened here during this State of Unreal showcase, where a lot of developers are coming out talking about their work with Unreal Engine 5, and we learned that Crystal Dynamics is working on a brand new Unreal Engine 5 Tomb Raider game. IGN's article says, announcing the game during the State of Unreal 2022, Crystal Dynamics Tomb Raider franchise general manager Dallas Dickinson promised a high-quality cinematic action-adventure experience, but showed no gameplay or images and didn't even reveal a release window or title. Dickinson said the title is looking to push the envelope of fidelity and is looking to create an experience fans deserve from Crystal Dynamics and Tomb Raider as a series. I thought this was really interesting, again, because I'm trying to think of Crystal Dynamics as a studio. They are a AAA studio, and they are large, but you're balancing some sizable amount of work, I guess, on Avengers. Then the big task that they were put off to as Mercenaries by Square Enix. was to go work on Perfect Dark, and now they're the main workhorse for that, especially with so many people leaving the initiative and that studio being a lot more empty than it once was. Obviously, there's still people there, but not as many of the original minds. And they were also designed to make prototypes, not necessarily all the hard work that went into making the game, which again, Crystal Dynamics was doing. And then you look at this and they've announced another next generation game. And when you think about Galaxy Brain moment here, Xbox did have some temporary exclusivity of the Tomb Raider franchise with Rise of the Tomb Raider, which was a Crystal Dynamics game. There is a relationship there with Daryl Gallagher from the Initiative, who's the head of that studio, with Crystal Dynamics. They're working together. Now you see this. I don't know. My brain's spinning a lot of directions on this, but I thought it was interesting because it shows that not the entire studio is currently in on Perfect Dark. I imagine most are, because this is probably the project most deep into development, where Unreal Engine 5 is relatively new. When you look at something like the announcement by CD Projekt Red that they're working alongside Epic, like literally alongside them, to learn how to make Unreal Engine open world games. So we'll still see for many years down the line a number of Unreal Engine 4 games. And of course, there are a ton of Xbox games already using Unreal Engine 4, which you can see right here. Plenty of them are using it. So it's going to be exciting to really see how all of this plays out. And of course, I'm curious to know really how much now Crystal Dynamics is in on Perfect Dark, because it could have been completely overestimated by many journalists, myself, and others out there. So we'll see in due time, but an interesting development nonetheless. Anyway, that's all of the Xbox news and information I got for you in today's video. Pretty exciting stuff on the family plan front, as well as curious stuff happening with a price hike, and of course, what's going on with Crystal Dynamics. Do you have any thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm very excited to read all of that. Be sure to fire away. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.